Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. Rafe, I just knew you'd be wearing a bow tie for this occasion. It's glorious to see. Rafe, a tremendous visit, don't you think? The soft power, the entente cordiale, I think it's been a triumph on every level. What's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hugely successful. I mean, just look in that video package at the length of that standing ovation in the Senate. It's impossible to imagine, some theoretical British president being greeted with such a rapturous reception. And yes, it does go to the point of soft power. The monarchy is like Heineken; it touches the parts that politicians can't reach. And Britain does rank second in the world for its soft power status, just behind the America. And a lot of that is due to the respect and the interest in the monarchy that the world has. I think we really must pay credence to that. And it's also, I think, an important trip for the King and Queen particularly, because it puts to bed the argument put up by those who said that the monarchy's international status rested upon the Queen's reputation, and that the monarchy's star would dim without the Queen being there. Well, we can see, firstly, in Germany, with their own rapturous reception towards the King, and now in France, that the King is every bit as much of a star as his mother was. And we can't really underestimate the importance of that international importance. When King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, went to Canada and America in 1939, they said that trip made them. And I think the success of Germany and France has made the King and Queen too.
And Rafe, I was very moved from the very first meeting at the Arc de Triomphe. The military veterans who were present, some in wheelchairs, some very frail, French regiments carrying the Union flag, the pipers playing out those tunes that would have been heard previously across the battlefields of the Somme and of World War II, and then on to Bordeaux on the HMS Iron Duke. Bordeaux, of course, the setting of the Cockle Shell Heroes, one of the most significant strategic battles of World War II. Lots and lots of echoes of history, which I think is wonderful to see.
Yes, of course, you have to remember that His Majesty has made something like 30 official visits to France. Many of those were, of course, to visit the important First World War battlefield sites, and also, of course, to commemorate Second World War events that took place. And so many of those people that he would have seen, many of those veterans, he will have known from previous visits too. And of course, he's in his 70s now, so we're talking about a good 50 years that he's played part of their lives. Of course, as Prince of Wales, he was Colonel-in-Chief of many of those regiments. Now he is Commander-in-Chief of all of the forces. And I think it's important that he's now being seen to do this with the President of France, because we know now in this increasingly unstable world that Britain and France are Europe's two greatest military powers, and the importance of that relationship is never more important.
Yeah, some people are slightly critical that he banged on about climate change a bit too much in the same week as Rishi Sunak, of course, did the opposite. But let's move on. Back to normal business in many ways. Harry is back on the front pages of the paper today. A new royal rift between Harry and Charles. A snub. Can you tell us what that story is about, please, Rafe?
Yes, well, the highs and lows here. Here we have a story saying that Prince Harry actually snubbed his father's invitation to spend the anniversary of Her late Majesty's death with the King and Queen at Balmoral. This would have been a great occasion, actually, for some sort of initial steps towards perhaps a reconciliation or a thawing, because the Prince and Princess of Wales were in Wales for their own anniversary commemorations, and so Harry could have had a chance to spend this time alone. He decided against it, saying that his itinerary wouldn't allow him to spend time in Balmoral, even though he was in the UK. This from a man who we know from his tax returns works for 1 hour a week for his Archwell Foundation. He lives a life of idleness on permanent holiday, and yet his trips to the UK always seem very rushed, flying in and flying out as soon as he can. He surely could have adjusted his schedule to reciprocate and to show, that he's not going to reject every single olive branch that the King magnanimously offers him. And I do say magnanimously because given the amount of venom that Harry and Meghan have poured in his direction, particularly towards his wife and towards William and Kate, it's quite generous of him to have extended this olive branch.
Yeah, I agree. Briefly, what do you make of this this idea that the king has been speaking about climate change in France, and he shouldn't really be doing that when politically it's on the agenda back home?
Well, I think actually he's correct to doing this. He promised us as Prince of Wales that he would not be a political king, and he's proven that he's not been a political king, and he hasn't put a foot wrong. But there's nothing wrong with the sovereign actually having a concern for certain issues and passions. And the Archbishop of Canterbury should take a leaf out of the King's book, because the King shows how you can express support for beliefs and causes without being political. That's what the Church of England should be doing.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with the King or the Church speaking about the poor or the downtrodden or the environment, so long as they don't criticise government policies.
Okay, Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, thank you. It's always a pleasure living the Dicky Bow.